The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now logged into WarUp on the WPIAL, featuring your hosts, Greg Warnock and Jeff Upson. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into a brand new episode of WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson. Jeff, back from Hershey. Have you recovered?
You know, I'm super tired, man. And it's not just because of the team tournament. It's because we left the team tournament and went directly up to State College to watch Penn State and Iowa wrestle. So I didn't get back to close to 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, I guess. So, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit.
So you actually never stayed there Saturday night? You just came straight back?
No, we came straight back. Yeah, we came straight back Saturday after the match, and traffic was a nightmare getting out of the Bryce Jordan Center because they broke the attendance record. Almost 16,000 fans were inside the BJC, and it was a fun experience.
Too bad Hershey can't be the same way as far as attendance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit on social media. I was very disappointed with the attendance at the PIAA State Tournament, although I did hear Dr. Bob Lombardi say that attendance was up from last year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, but overall, the excitement level around the team states is not there. I just don't think it is, and that's unfortunate. It's a tournament that I'm very a big fan of, especially for a guy like me who got to wrestle in the team states but never got to wrestle in this individual state tournament. So it was, a first time wrestling in Giant Center for me, and that it's a memory that I'm never going to forget. But when you look back at sort of the way in which the state tournament is formatted, I think I don't know. There's a lot of areas for improvement, I believe. But
what's just one example of a formatting change you could see that could increase attendance?
Well, I mean, I think you got to look at maybe a different venue, maybe having it at a different location. You could even separate AAA and AA into their own tournaments to see how that does with their attendance. Maybe have it more centralized. I know I guess people look at the map and they believe that Hershey's in the center of the state, but it's not. It's not in the center of the state. So I don't know. There's a variety of things they could do. I think if you get the best teams there. Now, I had a lot of people tell me, Jeff, I'm not going because I know who's going to win. So what's the point of me going? I can watch it online. Although our friend Eric Knopsler can tell us that that's not so easy because the network that was streaming it, National Federation of High School Network, it failed multiple times. So, yeah, I don't know. Just the overall, though, I don't even know if the teams were excited to be there this year, to tell you the truth. Some of the teams, it just seemed like, I don't know.
Well, the WPIAL fared well in AAA, as we kind of expected. AA, not so much. We'll break down both brackets. Let's first start off in AAA, and we'll stick into the winner's bracket. On Monday night, Seneca Valley did take care of Carrick 60-11 to advance to Hershey. In the opening round, the WPIAL went 3-4-3. Canon-McMillan defeated Council Rock South 36-24. Kiski defeated Central Dauphin 47-16. And Seneca Valley defeated Archbishop Wood 58-9. No surprise from Seneca Valley and Kiski, but Canon-McMillan, was that a good match against Council Rock South?
Yeah, absolutely it was. And I'm not, saying I called it, but I called it, that it was going to be a good match. And, yeah, I mean, those two battled last year at the same time in the same place, and Council Rock South came out on top in that one, but this time Canon-Mac was just a little bit too much. They just had a lot of firepower. They got wins and they got bonus points where I wasn't expecting them to. Tim Risco got a fall for them, so that was pretty big, and they were able to get the points they needed and not give up the points where they didn't. Kenny Heyman beat Shane Hansen Ashworth, which was a pretty big win for him. So, yeah, it was Canon-Mac they wrestled really tough, and there's a reason they came out on top of that one.
The WPIAL went 2-for-3 in the quarterfinals. The one they did not win was the Canon-McMillan Big Macs. They lost to Cathedral Prep 40-18. Prep just showing they're flexing their muscles, really, in getting that win.
Yeah, it was, and things could have gone the other way had things went a little bit different for Canon-Mac in some of the matches. But, yeah, it was, Cathedral Prep is tough, and they showed it. and they came back strong. They were down in that match, but they came on strong to win that.
Yeah, they ended up winning the last 7 matches in order to take that victory from Canon-McMillan. And one big-time match, Carter Starocki and Garrett Ninehouse wrestle. Were you surprised there was no bumping there and those two went straight at it? Starocki wins 3-1, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I wasn't necessarily that surprised that they elected to put Ninehouse on Starocki. And as you said, Cathedral Prep had to win the last 7 weights to come out and win that match. But not necessarily was I surprised, and that's a number 1 versus number 3. This is a rematch from last year's state tournament. They've wrestled multiple times, so it was a good win for Carter to get that. So, but I wasn't necessarily surprised to see them go head to head.
The quarterfinal we were looking forward to, Kiski against Nazareth, the defending state champions. Kiski does upend Nazareth 40-21 to move into the semifinals. It was a good starting spot because we mentioned Kiski stronger in the heavier weights. So they started 106 pounds where Kiski can finish strong. But they got the big win at 113. I think that just kind of got the ball rolling for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, 106 and 113 got the ball rolling because Sammy Starr came out with a really decisive 4-3 victory. Which I thought was a toss-up match. Then you looked at 113. I had this as a definite decision for Nazareth, and then Dom Giordano comes out with a huge win, an upset win over a guy who's ranked top 20 in the state, Andrew Smith, beats him 6-4. So, yeah, I thought it was a great starting position for Kiski to get those 2 wins right off the bat, and then you knew Nazareth was going to be strong in 120 through 138, and Sean Pearson got a really tight win over Darren Miller, 3-2. Pearson was down to 120 for the first time this season at the state tournament, so that helped them out a lot. Freshman Drew Clearly, I thought this was another toss-up match here, a freshman going against a senior. He defeats Bobby Lawrence 3-0. And then Ryan O'Grady at 132. He only gets a decision here, and that was huge for them.
Yeah, and then from there, after that, Kiski ends up taking over. Noah Levitt gets the big win over Siniglia, 3-1. But then Cam Connor, you get everybody away from Sammy Sasso. You give up the forfeit, and you're able to get a fall from Bloomer, and then bump Delp, and he gets a fall. And then once Logan Pollock got that major decision, you knew it was over.
Yeah, and I thought the move by Chris Heater was just a great one to bump away from Sasso, a guy who you know is going to get you 6 most likely and pump up his side of the team there. So Noah Levitt getting a decision over a tough Siniglia, Cam Connor getting a decision over Stefanik, another top 10, top 15 guy. But Nick Delp, that was the big one here over Jake Dressler, who I thought that, we know what Nick Delp does on top. He goes for those, high end, high reward type moves in that sense. He goes for those bars and, he for him to get the fall there at 170, bumping up, that was huge.
And that helped Kiski propel to a 40-21 victory. Down right below them, Seneca Valley, we mentioned they had the clear path to get to the semifinals, and they do. They defeat Springford 36-26.
Yeah, and this was a match that we even saw one match not go Seneca Valley's way with Louis Newell losing to Brandon Meredith from Springford. He was up in that match. I think it was 5-1 at one time going into the third period, and Meredith just stormed back. He got a takedown late in the last 10 seconds to defeat Louis Newell. So, but Seneca Valley, they get the job done.
So that set up Kiski Area against Seneca Valley in the semifinals. We were going to have a WPIAL finalist in the state tournament. And on the other side, it was a win for Bethlehem Catholic over Cathedral Prep 33-26 in an exciting duel. On the other side, Kiski does defeat Seneca Valley 42-26. The match starts at 120. Kiski decides to bump Darren Miller up to 126. Louis Newell gets the forfeit for Seneca Valley, but then Kiski Area just goes on a roll with Miller getting a win, Noah Levitt getting a fall, Cam Connor a decision, Bloomer a fall, and Delp a fall. That really just set themselves up for a big win.
Yeah, and I think, obviously these teams are familiar with each other, both being from the WPIAL. But, yeah, it was just a dominating performance by Kiski. I don't think anyone was overly surprised by that. Seneca Valley, they had a lot. They didn't have anything to lose going against Kiski, and they showed that.
And that helped Kiski set up into the finals where they would take on Bethlehem Catholic. Unfortunately, Kiski's run would end there as a fall to Bethlehem Catholic 38-22. And really in that match, a lot of the swing matches that you thought Kiski might be able to steal away, they just couldn't do it this time around.
Yeah, they weren't able to do it. I mean, it didn't start out well for them with Noah Levitt giving up a major decision to Ryan Anderson at 138 pounds. I mean, I think that just shows how really good Ryan Anderson is to do that against a guy who's a two-time state medalist. And then 145, I thought this was a toss-up match, but I was favoring Cam Connor. And Cole Handlovic just comes out and he actually takes us into overtime. I thought the call at the end in the third period, I didn't think it was a takedown. I thought time had expired. But they go into overtime and Handlovic is able to secure a takedown to win it 5-3. I thought that was, those two giving up the major at 38 and then losing 45. It was an uphill battle to begin with, but I thought after those two, it was kind of like in that Nazareth match when Kiski won 106 and 113. I thought after 138 and 145 against Becca, it was a long shot.
Yeah, from there, Kiski Area then started to pick up wins as they win 5 of the next 7. But then Bethlehem Catholic wins the final 5 matches. They win the tight ones at 113 and 120. Sammy Starr ends up getting pinned, and by the time you got to 126, you knew Kiski was out of gas.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit too much. And despite Jack Bloomer getting a fall for Kiski at 152 pounds over a guy who's ranked number 4 in the state, Luca Frenzy, and that was a kind of a weird exchange. They were Frenzy was in on his leg, and when Bloomer kind of was bouncing around, he went in to fight hands, and his head hit Luca in the head, and it looked like it hit his nose, and he falls over, and they put him through a concussion protocol type thing, and Bloomer's actually able to pin Frenzy on the next sequence, which was a huge bonus point victory for Kiski. So you thought, okay, they have some life, and then Nick Delp, then he gets a fall at 160 pounds, so you're thinking, okay, now Kiski's back, but then Mikey Lewis gets as a major, Logan Pollock and Danny Starr get decisions, and then Robert Spezza gets a fall over Troy Kuhn, and then Isaac Reid can't get anything more than a major over Jace Krause.
Yeah, from there it was just, like you said, an uphill battle because Bethlehem Catholic's strong at some of those lighter weights. So Bethlehem Catholic is your state champion in AAA. Kiski Area ends up finishing in second place. To talk about Kiski Area's performance is their heavyweight and senior, Isaac Reid. Isaac, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be able to speak.
Well, Isaac, you guys had a great run at Hershey. You end up finishing in second place. How's it set in? Is the team celebrated what an accomplishment it was for you guys this year?
Well, I'm just super proud of our team. They work hard all the time. We have great coaches. Everyone did their job between not giving up bonus points and coming up with extra bonus points, such against Nazareth. We wrestled tough, and I feel like that was the biggest win of the season against Nazareth. They were defending state champs, obviously, so that was very exciting.
Do you think that was probably the biggest win of your high school career team-wise?
Yeah, I'd say so. I remember my sophomore year, they beat us in Criteria I, so it was nice coming back and getting that win against them as a senior. So, I just like to give my coaches credit. They do an awesome job, and the team definitely, and you guys as well. You guys do an awesome job just keeping coverage of all the wrestling around the state and even around the country and world. You guys do a great job, and dedication's shown. Just people see that you guys are committed and love the sport. It's awesome.
Well, Isaac, I appreciate that, and I know Greg does, and all of us here at PA Power definitely appreciate that. And when this is a little bit a special year for you because you came into the season a little bit later, and talk about that. Talk about just that fire, that burning desire for you to get out there for the team. You came in right at it seems like the exact moment the team needed you. You came back and really propelled them to finish second in the state. You finished third last year, you're second this year. So, talk about that sort of energy that you brought to the lineup and how it was a little bit different for you.
Oh, well, my perspective on things, I just give all glory to God for this. I truly believe that He deserves the glory. He's kept my faith up. Like, my faith has been through the roof, and it's good just leading people into the light of the world and just being a good example for my teammates, showing like, hey, bad things can happen, but through faith, there's a way to stay positive and get through it, because it was definitely a tough experience to go through. And with the team and all, like, I was more excited to help the team out than myself, just by being a new creation in Christ. And I just put the team above myself, and it was just awesome watching the team work hard, and they really do a great job. And I'd like to give a lot of credit to the coaches. They're having the team work out all the time, and they're very knowledgeable, been around for a long time. I couldn't thank the coaches more for what they've done for me in my 4 years.
And I know you got a special relationship with Coach Tursky. He's always yelling at you to pummel in and hit your shots and talk about that relationship you have with Coach Tursky.
He's an awesome guy. He treats me almost as a son at times. I'm wearing this United States Olympic Committee shirt he just gave me today. It's a nice shirt. I'm just very thankful for him. He does all kinds of great deeds for me and the team, and Coach Tursky's an awesome guy. I love him to death. He has a place in my heart.
And Isaac, I know a lot of the focus has been on the team so far, but what's it been like for you personally? And I know you got to wrestle, several matches here. You didn't get all forfeits at the state tournament. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're getting your lungs back? I know you went the distance with Jace Krause against Bethlehem Catholic. Do you feel like you're getting back to form to where you were in the state finals last year, and you feel like, hey, I'm going out there and I'm going to prove that I am number one?
Oh, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I feel like I don't have anything to prove at this point. I feel like everything from here on out is just bonus. Just the fact that I'm alive, breathing, and doing well and doing what I love to do in wrestling. I'm honored enough and thankful enough for just that in itself. So anything from this point on is just bonus.
You had the condition, Isaac, and you were diagnosed with it. How tough was it to sit on the sidelines while your team was out on the mat in the early part of the season?
It was very tough. I felt like I was missing out on. For a minute, I felt like I lost my identity. I lost my identity. Wrestling was everything to me. So at the same time, I created a new one, which I'm way happier with my new identity now. And now that I just know that, there's a lot more to life than just wrestling or things of this world, and that there's something that love is more important than all of that. And I feel like it just really matured me as a person, as an individual, to just be more grateful for life and cherish every day, because you never know when you're going to get a blood clot or something wrong is going to happen, because it happens to everyone. It's just a part of life. So I'm just thankful to be alive and doing what I love to do.
And Isaac, I think that's just beautiful the way you put that. Is like you just never do know, and you're a young kid. You're not even in your 20s yet, and you had to face some of this tough adversity. How are you now? And I know you said everything was good with the blood clot. Is this something you got to keep an eye out for in the future?
Nah. I'm just keeping my faith up, man, that I'm going to be good. I've been very positive, and I feel great. I feel great on the mat, and feel great in the classroom now. Everything's working out. So I'm thankful for everything every day.
Well, Isaac, congratulations to you and the rest of the Kiski Area Cavaliers on a great run at Hershey, and best of luck as you guys get ready for individuals coming up.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Isaac. We look forward to seeing you soon, and great job out in Hershey, okay?
Thank you.
See you, Isaac.
Thanks again to Isaac Reid of Kiski Area for joining us on the show. And we talked about it before we knew what was going to end up happening with his condition, if he was going to return to the lineup or not. And you've seen, with him in the lineup, second best team in the state. Without him, who knows what happens to Kiski. So it's a blessing in and of itself that he was able to wrestle in and of itself, but the fact that he then propelled his team to a WPIAL championship, to second in the state, it's just a phenomenal story.
It really is a inspirational and phenomenal story to see that and to hear that. And he's got to be feeling, like you said, thankful and grateful, because that's a serious thing to go through, and for him at such a young age to face that kind of adversity and to see him actually come back. Because when I first heard that was a blood clot, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, he may not ever wrestle again, let alone, come back this season. And for him to come back and really help propel Kiski to that second place finish. And like he said, everything else is bonus. He's just thankful every day that he gets to wake up and breathe the air. It's pretty incredible to hear. And I think that's an inspirational story that other wrestlers, that there is more to life than just wrestling. So pretty interesting.
So Kiski ends up with second place, which now dropped down in the consolation bracket because there was still some wrestling to be had there for the WPIAL. Canon-McMillan fell into the second round of consolations, where they defeated Cedar Cliff 59-9. Then they had a tight one against Central Dauphin, 29-28, to get to the Consi semifinals, where they would meet Seneca Valley.
Yeah, and that was a little bit tighter than I expected. I mean, maybe I got my Central Dauphin Rams. I didn't give them enough credit. But I was talking to my old coach Jeff Swigert about this, and I was like, man, that could have went a different way here if things would have shaped out a little bit differently. So you look through the box score, and there were a few names that you'll see that were missing. Tim Marisco did not wrestle in this match. I'm not saying that Canon-Mac necessarily rest guys for this, and took Central Dauphin for granted. I just thought that's a long couple days there.
Yeah.
And you're going through a grind, and that's it takes a toll on your body and all that, fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was Central Dauphin battled them tough, and they got some wins where they needed to. They got a win at 32, and they got a win at 170, which I thought were both toss-up matches. So it got a little bit closer than expected.
So Canon-McMillan would meet Seneca Valley. Winner gets a PIAA medal, and it was Canon-McMillan defeating Seneca Valley for the second week in a row, and they defeat them 27-23. And first and foremost, the big match happened at 120 pounds. It did not happen a week earlier. Logan Macri and Louis Newell, they wrestle, and Macri wins 5-2. If that goes the other way, Seneca Valley is getting a medal.
Yeah, which is incredible to think about, because you're talking about two of the top guys in the state. This was a Powerade final, which happened in overtime. Yep. So I mean, you're taking a gamble and a risk here, saying, man, if Logan can't come out and beat Louis Newell for the second time, they're going home potentially. So I mean, you look at 20 was such a huge match, and I thought Logan just wrestled a great match in that bout. And really, these two teams just battled tough. I thought Seneca Valley gave it everything they could against Canon-Mac. It was a great match to watch in the consolation semifinals, and thinking, man, this is two WPIAL teams just leaving it all out in the line. So there's no shame in Seneca Valley. In Seneca Valley, I talked to Kevin Wildrick afterwards, and he was like, man, this is incredible run for them, for a team that wasn't even supposed to be in the WPIAL championship.
Right.
They weren't even supposed to be
They were
there.
in the top four.
They weren't even in the top four there, to come out and finish
top six in the state.
Top six in the state, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, because Prep ends up beating Nazareth 40-25 in the other consolation semi. So really, Seneca Valley is a top 6 team in the state of Pennsylvania, when really they could be number 5 in the WPIAL. That just tells you the strength of the WPIAL in the state here this year. In the third place match, Cathedral. Excuse me.
Wow.
In the third place match, Cathedral Prep does defeat Canon-McMillan 42-22. Would have been interesting to see Cathedral Prep take on Kiski as far as that goes, but if the bracket falls in the favor of the WPIAL, in this case, Canon-McMillan ends up in fourth place, falling short of Cathedral Prep.
Yeah, and I had a lot of people say to me, well, the finals in AAA were actually in the semifinals. I was like, well, it was and it wasn't. I mean, yeah, I guess people were looking at our rankings, but I did have BECHI 1 and Cathedral Prep 2, but the way that Kiski wrestled Nazareth and the way that they competed in that match, I thought, my gosh, I mean, this was, and they matched up very well with Cathedral Prep. I've done that bout on paper several times this year, and I think the difference between these two is where Cathedral Prep is strong, Kiski's a little bit stronger. So I'm looking at Danny Starr at 220 or 195. I think that's a win. Isaac Reid against Quan DeBow. I think that's a win. Those are two bonus point victories that Erie Prep normally gets against teams like Canon-Mac and Bethlehem Catholic. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see these two wrestle, Cathedral Prep and Kiski, because I think it would be a tight match. But right now, I mean, our most updated rankings that I just released today, Kiski Area is number 2, just based on the fact that they beat Nazareth by 17 points, and it was a very convincing win. So,
and then, as mentioned, Canon-McMillan ends up in fourth. They get the big win from Logan Macri to get them to that point, and we're honored to be joined by Logan Macri to talk about that match and more. Logan, thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Well, Logan, you guys ended up fourth in the state. How's it been coming back and knowing you came back with a PIAA medal? Was that one of your goals coming into the season, and are you guys happy with how things finished up at Hershey?
Yeah, I was real excited. I mean, never been part of a team to come back with any hardware, and that was our goal for the year, was to come back with that.
And you guys had a great run after losing in the quarterfinals. You guys had the tight win in the opening round against Council Rock South, a match that you guys avenged a year earlier. Did you guys talk about going into that first round, the fact that you don't want to make sure you get caught again against Council Rock South?
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed in our team last year with losing to them. I definitely thought we were a better team, but we didn't come out on top, and I didn't want the same thing to happen, so we made sure we kind of got the guys to warm up a little early and made sure we weren't flat and we were ready to go.
So after you guys end up dropping the match against Cathedral Prep, was there a lot of talk about, hey, we're going to have to get 3 wins if we want to get a medal?
Yeah, I mean, we were ready to do it. I mean, put us in a really good spot in the bracket. I mean, it sucks to lose that early on, but we were ready to fight and come back.
And Logan, I was there at the state tournament, and I noticed that during the matches, you're very involved in those matches. You're coaching basically from the sidelines. Have you embraced that role as a senior leader on this team and really trying to help those guys sort of get the best out of them?
Yeah, I really try to. Like, I mean, I've struggled with it in the past, like not doing my best and just kind of wanting to hold on to a match. But when it comes to the team stuff, really need to get on the guys to score some bonus points and get our lead early.
And talking about some close matches in the Consolation semifinals, you get Seneca Valley, and it seems like, it just all the pressure ends up on you, and you seem to just embrace that. You go out there and you wrestle Louis Newell for the second time this season. You beat him at the Power 8 in overtime, and I thought, my gosh, this is it. This is going to determine the dual meet here, and you just came out and you gave it to him. Talk about that match. What was your mind? What was your focus like going into that match, knowing that the duel was going to rest in your hands?
I mean, I was ready to go. That wasn't our plan from the beginning, but some things didn't go our way, and so we had to make an adjustment, and we did. And coaches told me about 2 matches before, and I got ready to go and just knew what I had to do for our team.
And can you just walk us through that match? Because I just thought, when you look you look back at the film from Power 8 to this last one, I mean, I think it's night and day. I think you out-wrestled Louis just a lot more this time around, and you seem to that gap is widening big time. So can you just walk us through that match a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, short first period, minute, which I didn't really understand why we were wrestling that, but consolation round, and not really much happened, kind of a little bit hand fighting, and then I don't know, it just felt better on my feet even through that first period, and then did he choose? No, he deferred. I went bottom, got out, quick escape. Ended up taking him down that period and struggled a little bit more on top. I mean, he definitely worked on bottom. He was better than he was before on bottom. And he ended up getting out that period, and I knew I could take him down again, and that was the plan. Tried to stay offensive, but not rushing in because he's pretty good at his reshots. And he ended up getting out in the third there, the next period, and then he was chasing, and I don't know, I just felt the opportunity and took it. Didn't just want to hold on to the 1 point, opened up a little bit, and ended up getting a nice reshot and taking him down and finished on top.
And when you look at that match, and I agree with you, Louis Newell's is so good at that reshot, and he's so good at scoring off of your offense. And you seem to not push the action enough. You kind of waited and stalked and waited for your opening, and it seemed like physically you were a little bit stronger. He's fast. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's an athletic wrestler, and he's fast. Did you feel a little bit stronger?
Yeah, I mean, most guys I wrestle, I feel a little stronger. I kind of not necessarily rely on that, but it's one of my attributes, I'd have to say, and I had to slow myself down a little bit that match just to make sure I didn't get in any trouble and just use my strength and went there and got it done.
And you look at 120, and it's such a loaded weight class, and you know that. I mean, you look at Dougie Zapp, he's there, Darren Miller, Matt Lackman from BECHI, and Sean Pearson, the guy who I thought had a tremendous weekend, guy that is probably one of the more underrated guys because he doesn't have a state title like Dougie Zapp does. But when you look at the 120 bracket and you're looking at just all those big names, is that something that you're like, hey, I got to prove myself. I got a lot of names to knock off here, but you're ready for that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm more competition, the better, my opinion. I mean, just ready to go get it done. Senior year, go take care of business.
Well, Logan, you guys had a really good run throughout, and obviously you guys ended up falling just a little bit short on the WPIAL side of things. Was it tough coming back to practice on Monday after last week falling a little bit short against Kiski?
I mean, yeah, it was, but it was also like I wouldn't necessarily a weight off our shoulders, but that was in the past, and we just had to our coaches did a good job of talking to us afterwards, and we kind of recouped and. I was ready to go on Monday. I was pumped. I definitely thought we were in a good spot to place, and we went into practice and just did what we had to do. Got it off our minds.
Obviously, you guys had the injury with Skylar as well. We mentioned an update last week. How's he doing? He made the trip with you guys to Hershey, right? Yeah,
he's wearing a neck brace. I mean, it's a heck of a thing. He has to sleep in, and I don't see how he's sleeping, but. He goes back to the doctors this weekend, so they're going to tell him if he can take that off for a little bit or wear it longer. He doesn't know yet.
Was that an extra motivation for you guys to say, hey, we want to go out and perform? I'm sure you guys want to win, obviously, and get a medal, but get an extra win potentially for Skylar?
Yeah, I mean, it was a scary situation. I mean, for both teams probably. I mean, I wasn't on the Kiski bench, but no one likes to see someone get hurt, and it just kind of motivated our guys, and, we didn't get the job done at Whip, so we decided we were going to get the job done and got a medal, and he got a medal too. So it was good to get that for him.
Well, Logan, congratulations to you and the Big Macs on placing fourth in the state, and best of luck as you guys get ready for individuals coming up.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Logan.
Thanks to Logan Macri of Canon-McMillan for joining us on the show. And we talk about Kiski and all their success, but Canon-McMillan, a great run as well. Those two were really the top two teams in the WPIAL, and the fact that they both get to come home with state medals is just awesome. Yeah, it was a really good performance for the Big Macs. I mean, like you said, Kiski, sort of the headline grabber with all the things that they were able to do, but for Canon-Mac, and there was a lot of people who said, well, you're so biased towards the WPIAL, Jeff. You're picking Canon-Mac and Kiski. I'm like, well, they're both really, really good, and I want to make it clear that I got all four picks correct in AAA. I picked the 1 through 4 all correct. I mean, you nailed it on the head, and
there's nothing you want to say.
I give you full credit.
There's no, snarky comment.
I mean, I would have picked it the same way. So.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it was just obvious,
right? It was obvious.
Okay.
Unless you're from Nazareth and you thought they were going to upset Kiski, but
which a lot of people did I did get a lot.
But obviously, considering this is the WPIAL show, I'm going to have my bias towards WPIAL because that's who I'm leaning towards.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see Kiski and Canon-McMillan wrestle how many times in the year? I don't see Nazareth wrestle at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to lean Kiski's way.
I hear you. Well,
but congratulations! I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. That's all I wanted you to hear is just that you were.
Did you get 1 through 4 right in AA?
No. I got 1 through 2. So
well, let's go ahead and dive into AA. The match on Monday night, McGuffey was taking on Harbor Creek. They do fall short to Harbor Creek 54-16. So McGuffey does not advance to Hershey. Burrell and Derry in their opening round matches, both of them do fall short. Derry falls to Chestnut Ridge 43-18. Chestnut Ridge ends up coming in 3rd place in the state, though, so nothing to be ashamed of for Derry. Burrell on the other side, they fall to Muncie 34-30, and that one was a close one, just as we expected. Probably the best one on the opening round.
Yeah, that was a big time match, and that was basically the entire Giant Center Arena was looking at that match, and it came down to the wire basically. So both those teams just showed a lot of guts, wrestling. It was almost like I said, that Canon-Mac Council Rock South match in AAA. It was a similar sort of atmosphere with that Burrell and Muncie.
So both teams fall down into the Consolations. Burrell defeats Faith Christian 54-15. Derry loses to Huntington 36-30. And here's the main reason why. Dom DeLuca gets pinned by Fisher at 220 pounds in a match that you would expect DeLuca to win. He wins that. Derry wins and goes to the next round.
Yeah, that was a huge letdown for Derry, having their number 1 kid in the state, Dom DeLuca, not only losing but getting pinned by number 9, Landon Fisher. So Landon Fisher is going to be making a jump up in the rankings. But overall, it wasn't a great weekend for Dom DeLuca. He only won 1-0 against a guy from Chestnut Ridge. So I don't know if I don't know what's going on there, but Landon Fisher basically sealed the deal for Huntington to move on. And Huntington is a team that really impressed me, a team that finished 2nd in the District 6 tournament, losing to Westmont Hilltop. They come back and wrestle very tough here in Hershey.
Burrell then in the second round had to take on Brookville, and they end up avenging the loss that they had earlier in the season. They defeat Brookville 29-27. What a win for Burrell.
And this was a huge match because you look back at the Ultimate Duels when they wrestled a month ago, and Brookville comes away with a 39-23 win. So a pretty not substantial win, but a convincing win nonetheless. And a lot of things went the other way here, Burrell especially. So as big as Landon Fisher beating Dom DeLuca was, even just as impressive was 152. You had Corey Christie, who avenged the loss. He lost to Caleb Hetrick 7-4 last time these two wrestled, and he comes back and wins this time over Caleb Hetrick in a big time match. So that really set up the Burrell Bucks to come out and get that upset win. Obviously, a lot of other things went their way as well.
Yeah, he ends up winning that match 6-0, and that really propelled them to the victory. Like you said, a 6-point swing, and that's all it really took for Burrell with that Christie win, and he's really stepped up as a senior.
And you look at 113 pounds, Colby Christie, this time he comes away, he got pinned last time by Cabe Park. This time around at 113 pounds, he beats Parker Fleming 6-5. So both Christies really came out huge in this match, and their main reason why that Burrell beat Brookville 29-27.
So then they had to wrestle Boiling Springs in the third round of Consolations. It was another tight one. Burrell had a lot of close matches, but they do fall to Boiling Springs 33-31.
Yeah, and this was another really fun match, and I got to hear a lot from Coach Rod Wright from Boiling Springs, who said, you didn't give us any respect all throughout the year, and I had to. Rod's a good guy, so I had to, and he's scary, so I had to say, yeah, I'm right, you're right, Rod, I'm sorry, but yeah, that was a heck of a match. You had it come down to the end there, and unfortunately, Colby Christie loses at 120 pounds to lose that match 33-31. But as you said, a lot of really, really tight matches. I thought with Boiling Springs getting a fall at heavyweight, I thought that was not going to bode well for Burrell, and it just came up short against a really tough Boiling Springs team.
And Boiling Springs ended up falling to Muncie. Muncie was your fourth-place team, so that tells you how close Burrell was. They lose a tight one to Muncie, a tight one to Boiling Springs, and that was probably the fifth-place match in that consolation semi between those two. Muncie gets fourth place, Chestnut Ridge was third, Southern Columbia was second, and Reynolds was your champion in AA. But Burrell, they wanted to be a top four finisher. They fall short of that goal, but you got to give them a lot of credit for how they wrestled in Hershey.
Yeah, it was pretty darn close. And I talked to Coach Shields afterwards, and he was very impressed with the way his team battled. They came out there, and like you said, the WPIAL has something to prove across the state. It's like we may be 12 times. It doesn't matter if you're 20-time WPIAL champions. If you don't have any hardware from the state tournament, does it really matter? And, you look at what they were able to accomplish. Brookville was number 3 in the state. I thought they were going to finish 3rd in the state. And Burrell beat them. So, I mean, they were right up in there. And I think this really showed how tough District 4 was, having Southern Columbia finish 2nd and Muncie finishing 4th. Just like in the WPIAL and AAA, these two District 4 teams really impressed me. Muncie and Southern Columbia, and Reynolds obviously just does what Reynolds does. They're just incredible.
So looking ahead, now we get into individuals now that the team portion has wrapped up. AA gets started this coming weekend. They'll do the same thing they did last year. The section championships on Friday, the WPIAL championships on Saturday. Both will be at Canon-McMillan. Sections 1, 2, and 3. Wrestling will start at 4 o'clock on Friday for the 3 section championships, 4 wrestlebacks from the round of 8, and that will decide your 3 section champions. Then wrestling gets back underway on Saturday at 11 a.m., and it's 12 wrestlers to start and 4 wrestlebacks, and your top 7 going on to the Southwest Regional, which is going to be at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So should be fun.
I'm thoroughly confused
with the sections and the WPIALs.
I'm still not used to this. Can you explain that one more time? Because I remember it's from last year, but I'm still confused. So they wrestle sections on Friday.
Correct.
How many sites?
1 site, all at Canon-McMillan.
All section matches in the 1 site, right?
Right, and there's 9 mats going on at Canon-McMillan. Mm-hmm. So they have basically 3 mats for every section, and they just wrestle straight through the section tournament. So a lot of these kids end up wrestling the same guys back-to-back days.
Yeah,
because of how the WPIAL brackets fall. But you advance the top 4 wrestlers because there's 12 wrestlers to start in the WPIAL. So there's 4 wrestlers in each weight class moving on to the WPIAL championships, which will be the very next day, as opposed to doing it one weekend, then the next weekend. I see both sides. I think the coaches for the smaller teams, they talk about how important the section championships are for their newer kids and just get people interested. And then you have on the other side how some coaches want to get rid of the section championships because of, to be honest, it was terrible wrestling. This is kind of like a
meet in the middle.
Exactly. A way to kind of please some of those coaches, but then still, if you had the WPIAL championships as opposed to sections, you would have them Friday, Saturday. So now in this case, you still have wrestling Friday, Saturday. The only drawback is you do have some kids wrestling back-to-back days. But if you had section championships and WPIAL championships, they're going to wrestle back-to-back weeks. So is there much of a difference?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, instead of separating it by 1 week, you're just getting it all out of the way and
in 1 weekend.
In 1 weekend, 2 days.
Then AA now gets a week off in between regionals and states, which is something that I think the coaches liked having.
Sure.
Over last year anyway. So it seemed to go well last year. It was a bit confusing as far as how the brackets went and who is where. I think they're going to work out the kinks, and they've done such a good job in the past with other tournaments that I have a feeling this year will go much more smoothly and things will go a little bit better than they were last year.
Well, I remember last year you said that it went better than expected, because I remember beforehand you were like, oh my gosh, this is a mess. Because, for the WPIAL to take on this daunting task of wrestling all the sections in one gym is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and they separated by 3 each time, so that worked out a little bit. I think it was just a matter of the timing issue and some kids getting the rest for the 45 minutes. I think that's the only thing they ran into last year. So we'll see if they kind of separate things a little bit more and open things up, because there's obviously some weight classes that have more kids than others and some sections that have more kids than others. Section 3, for instance, usually has the least amount of wrestlers as opposed to, I think, Section 2, which usually has the most.
If I remember correctly, wasn't there something with the wrestlebacks, like you had to get to, if you got to the quarterfinals or the semifinals, you wrestled in the Remember that from last year?
Well, it's only wrestlebacks to the round of 8. So that means
you had to make it to the...
If there's 9 kids in your bracket and you lost that first match, you're done.
Okay.
Because you're not in that round of 8.
So you have to get to the round of 8 to get
Correct.
to the... Okay.
To have a chance to go for wrestlebacks. Now, here's the other thing that happens. The sections are only advancing the top 4 because there's 12 wrestlers to start. They have 7 kids going on from the WPIAL to Southwest region. I'm kind of surprised they still don't do that 5th, 6th place match and have 5 kids, because you still can have a 16-man bracket with 15 kids in it, and then the top seed getting a bye. At the end of the day, that 5th place guy probably not going to advance. But what happens if there is a section that is loaded that has 4 or 5 kids because you advance 7?
Yeah, sure.
But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I would imagine that none of the 5th place kids, maybe 1. Maybe 1 or 2 out of 3 sections end up going on. So
yeah, I'd have to do some research on that. See how many times one section had 5 guys all go to the regional tournament
right
before this. So
and I want to say maybe having once, maybe twice, but it's not. It's rare. But that's the only argument you could have. Other than that, I think for the most part it worked out last year. There were, like I said, some kinks they need to work out, but I have a feeling this year it's going to be much more smooth.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to it.
And from there, we'll have the WPIAL Championships on Saturday. Next week, we'll have a full breakdown. We'll recap both the sections and the WPIAL Championships in AA, and then AAA gets started underway that next week. We'll have all 4 sites for you, as well as a breakdown of the regionals coming up in AA as well. That'll all be the next weekend.
Looking forward to it, Greg. And as always, you can stop by PAPowerWrestling.com for all your wrestling needs. We got a lot coming your way. We got updated rankings. And let me tell you, there's a lot of... The state tournament, the team tournament, determined a lot of different rankings because you had so many, and I counted 16 top 10 wrestlers who met. So you had 16 matches where those wrestlers were both ranked top 10 in the state. You had 2 number 1s fall, and there was a lot of head-to-head matchups that's going to change up the ranking. So there's going to be a lot of changes, so definitely look for those.
And now's the time to start looking at those regional rankings because you want to see which kids are going to end up going to the state tournament, and you got these regional tournaments coming up, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch to see who gets the opportunity to advance to Hershey. So check out the regional rankings so you know who to look for and what matchups you want to make sure you see. Yeah,
and we're seeing a lot of people drop as well. We're going to see some guys, some big name guys coming down in some weights, and that's one to look forward to too, because that changes up the regional rankings because you're looking at, all right, if I'm 5 or 6 in this region and at this weight, where am I going to be if there's some dropping that goes on? So yeah, now's the time to look at those regional rankings. But we're busy. We're definitely busy. This is
best time of the year, though, right?
Best time of the year. So
stay with us for the next 4 weeks, and we'll have full breakdowns for you. And we look forward to bringing you everything, full recaps on the podcast, whether it's the state podcast or our WPIAL podcast,
or even the college podcast.
That's right.
Those college boys, they do an okay job. Mason Beckman and Tristan Warner, they've got a lot coming your way. So if you're a fan of wrestling, you're going to want to tune into that.
Make sure you stay with us on PA Power Wrestling. For my broadcast partner, Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on the WPIAL.